everyone, welcome to Teo TV. Very excited for this next series we're about to launch. It is on dating and relationships. I'm so stoked for this one. I'm sure you all, after hearing that, are like, I wonder what this is going to be about. One thing we both have in common at this point is we're both excited to hear what I have to say about it. I'm so excited for this. This has been on my heart and my mind for over a year. I've had lots of mentors, coaching, lots of friends that have just shared their experiences in marriage and dating, and it's really cool to just kind of compile those and be able to share those experiences. In saying that, I'm not going to use their real names and stuff like that. It's going to be more fictional characters. There's going to be some real life stories tied into those. We'll go over some different scenarios, which will be really fun. And what's going to be awesome too is with the engagement and the comments that come in, is we'll be able to kind of guide this series based off the questions and stuff that are coming in. And we're going to have some guests on here, and I hope of both genders, which will be really exciting. But just super excited to share with you all. I've got lots of different topics. I'm going to lay out a few here, go into them just a little bit is going to be my goal, and then create the episodes to follow that go into them in more depth. A lot of what I see in today's dating world is there's a lot of negative energy. We have the dating apps. We have a lot of surface level dating. And I think it is a great opportunity for awesome dating, and it's also a lot of people that are going to go through a lot of hurt because of the portrayal of what they see from the media, what they see from the movies, what they see through TikTok, Instagram, and those things. And if that's what you want, cool, there's no judgment for that. For me, that's not happiness, that's just surface level. You see all these pictures and all that stuff, and then you sit down with a couple, and it's like, this is nothing like your Instagram highlights or your Facebook highlights, right? And so what's going to be cool about this is my goal with this is to create conversation around it, but also help a lot of younger people, just as I've been helped, and maybe it helps a lot of older people too, and maybe we get a good mix of everyone, but really help open people's posture to what dating could look like, it from this being this high pressure, high intensity, this guard, I'm afraid of getting hurt, rejection, all these things. And so being able to just help people have the foresight into this and be able to go into dating as more of a fun time of life. And that's how I view it for a while. There's a time I took off dating for like years because I was like, screw this is exhausting. And a lot of that was me maturing. I'll say that up front. Some of it was just not getting in the right relationships with the right people. A combination of everything, but I take my responsibility in that 100%. Of course I had to mature, right? I didn't start out, and I still am maturing, and everyone's still maturing in a sense. And so there's always the timing of everything. I always say the right person at the wrong time is still the wrong person. The wrong time, right person, still the wrong person, right? Timing and right person is everything. And right, there could be the right person, but they need to grow and mature for them to actually be the right person for you. And so that's why with dating too, is I never leave it on necessarily bad terms. They don't have to like me, right? That's not, that's not something that they have to do, but I'm going to be very upfront, honest, and be very honoring in that and say, hey, I don't see this going anywhere. And it's not it's not me, it's you, it's not that stuff either, right? It's us together. It's just not what I'm looking for. I'm not ready for commitment in this season. I don't have to justify it. If I see the need to, then I'll do that. It's not something that you owe someone to justify why. It's dating, you're experiencing. You should be getting different experiences, figuring out what you like, you don't like, and then finding that person, or maybe not. Maybe there is a season of singleness where you really work on you, which is what I found. As I used to think it was me, like, what's wrong with me? I'm 30, I don't have this. And I'm like, oh, well, you're worried about what other people think. You're worried about what outside looks like because you're different, right? And all these things and all of this pressure. But I'm like, wait a second. I look at all the people in their marriages and I started having conversations. Some people are very unhappy. Some people never got the opportunity to work on themselves. They live as a roommate versus actually having real conversations and going on real life adventures, experiences, still dating and having passion in their marriage. And, everyone's working on it. No one's perfect. There's no perfect marriage that I've seen. It's always a work in progress. And so for me, I'm grateful for that time. And for me, I'm not willing to sacrifice my peace and happiness for how it looks just to say, oh, I'm dating someone, right? I'll go on dates with people to get different experiences. But for me, if I'm going to commit to someone, then that means that I can see it going a little bit, right? Or just in that season of life, we're both at that same season and we're willing to invest that season together before we see if we want to invest more seasons. And there's nothing wrong with a season. There's nothing wrong with an evening. And there's nothing wrong with going for months or years. And so that is my view in a nutshell on dating and that. And I'm going to go over the negative energy that we have. A lot of times it's because our expectations we project on people from past experiences. I'll say that again. That's a big one. We'll project on people from past experiences. Well, this happened last time. Well, if this happens, then that means this person's trying to hurt me, or this person's going to do this, or this person. And we start projecting. And we wonder why we're not happy dating, or we don't have fun dating, right? And for me, it's a posture of discovery. Oh, okay, well, this evening I'm meeting this person. This is what I know of them, but I'm curious to discover more. I'm curious to see them as they actually are versus trying to guide them towards what I want them to be. Seeing them for what they actually are versus guiding them towards what I want them to be is crucial. So a lot of times when we get a date, we start projecting versus just being open, asking questions, right? There's a great saying, this is also great advice for connecting with people, is be interested, not interesting. Right? A lot of times if I sit here and go, yep, this is me, I'm Mateo, I'm awesome at this, this is me, great, waiter, can we get the bill? Awesome, I enjoyed my evening, I can't wait for date number 2, this was so much fun, right? Of course it was fun, all we did was talk about me, right? It happens all the time, even the opposite. It's like, yes, I'm asking questions, and of course they're gonna love me. I'm asking questions, I'm curious, I look the way that I do, I take care of myself, I have lots of things to offer, and in a sense, everyone does to an extent, right? A lot of times, too, we'll overvalue ourselves in a sense versus being real with ourselves, because the same thing, we'll project, right? We'll project onto ourselves. Well, I know that I'm 100 pounds overweight, but I have high fitness value. Maybe. I don't know. For me, right, there's a great saying that says, I'll take care of the outside for others, the inside's for me and God. And you want a combination of both. And I use weight, for example. You could have the opposite. Someone that looks beautiful on the outside and has just tons of baggage inside that they haven't dealt with. It's just emotional wreck, right? That is also equally as unattractive, in my opinion. And so with those things, there's lots for us to look at there. Is discovering who people are, why they are the way that they are. If it doesn't work out, just being upfront with them. It's not the whole, it's not me, it's you, it's us together. Hey, but I also have friends, or if you run into anyone like that you think would be a good fit for me, I'm open to that. And if I bump into anyone, I would appreciate that as well. And if you ever need anything or have questions or on dating or whatever, I hope that you feel comfortable reaching out and connecting with me again. I really enjoyed our experience together tonight. Something super easy, right? And I don't have to go past that, and I don't deal with manipulation. And that's what's fun about dating for me, is where I'm at. I took care of me first, is I'm not entering a relationship for someone to complete me, right? I don't believe in that. I just don't. I think it's weird. I think it's great for Hollywood. I think it's great for drama. I think there is an adding to, is how I look at it. Someone that can add value to me, of my life, right? Enhance the quality of my life, and vice versa. It's reciprocal, right? I also give them value back in some form or another. So I think that is the important part that I am learning. I want to go into some different things with relationships, having real conversations, real connection is really the big thing for me. There's physical, there's emotional, and then there's intellectual for me, right? And sometimes I'll meet people that are so geared on one side, the physical side, and then you meet people that are very much in the emotional, and then there's the intellectual side, and it's very rare to find a combo of all three. There are a lot of people, there's billions of people on the planet, so it's not like, wow, man, there's no one out there like that. That's not true. I don't believe that one bit. And so with that being said, is also, and the other thing, we'll go into the physical part of it. I think it's hilarious, ironic, hilarious when people say, as far as the physical, and I'm not talking like sex, intimacy, I know that's a part of it, but I'm even talking from things like hand holding, kissing, like those things as well, of people like, yeah, I just don't get physically involved with someone until I'm in a relationship. And I'm like, that to me is also insanity for a reason, because that's like someone saying that, I'm not going to show you my real personality until we get in a relationship. It's a pedestal, it's an ultimatum, and I just don't agree with that method of dating, right? I agree that there's no perfect timeline that says like, if step A happens, then step B happens, then step C, then D, then E, and it just follows this methodical step-by-step process. I think being open to the experience and being open and confident in who you are is those things naturally occur. And so I'm just very fascinated with that and why. And usually when people speak on that, this is another interesting thing, is usually when people speak on that is because there's some sort of trauma or baggage there. And so I always like to poke and ask questions around that. And just to understand, it's not to, right? There's a difference between manipulating someone, which I think is I'm not a fan of that at all, but asking questions to better understand, because even if they leave that date and you're not compatible together, at least they can learn from that experience and it can offer them something better for the next date. Or maybe the next date, maybe the next person they meet ends up being their spouse. And now they don't have that emotional damage or trauma that they're in resistance to because they actually had someone on a date earlier speak to that for them. Like, right? That is dating to me, is it doesn't have to be this heavy thing. It can be fun, right? Going on adventures. One of the things that I really enjoy is the different experiences of dating, right? I can sit and have coffee for so long because we're talking about, typically it's talking about the past. You can talk about some things that you're excited for in the future, some plans that you have, and that is, I'm not so interested. I want to really get to know that person. I understand the past as a part of that. I'm not so interested in all of their life story. I want to know who they are currently. Who are they? Right? That's most important to me in the beginning, and then we can expand on that. And usually the best way to get to know who someone is through experiences, right? There's great sayings. I'm going to use golf for an example. I'm not recommending golf as a first date, but a lot of people say you can tell a lot by someone by how they golf, right? If they hit a bad shot, are they cursing? Are they throwing their clubs? Are they quick to anger? Like, there's a lot different experiences. You can tell different things about different people. How do they interact with other people? That's a number one thing for me. Well, one of the things for me. Number one thing for me, I'll give you guys my insight. For me and all the ladies that are watching, like, yes, we're finally gonna get to connect with Mateo. Hold on, you may not want to do that. Is someone that can love themselves well, right? Someone that loves themselves well. If I have to be your source of love, if you are my source of love, that's exhausting. Right? If I can love myself well and we can love ourselves better together too, by us being complete together and adding again to each other, that is the most attractive thing. And I'd say in any human being, someone that loves themselves well, there's a very attractive energy around that. And so I think that's very, very important, is someone that can love themselves very well. And so that's a very important characteristic, but also watching how people interact with other people. How do they treat other people? Is it a show? Is it a front? Are they kind to other people? Kindness is a big one, right? How do they interact with other people? The other thing is their eyes. Like, I notice this a lot, and maybe you all can relate, is watching their eyes, right? If someone's constantly looking around, looking over their shoulder, looking to their phone, right? That shows not an interest. That's pretty obvious. But also when you go out in a group of people, or you're around other people, if it's a female, let's say men, how do they look at other men? How do they do those certain things, right? Because it really gauges their level of interest. There's a thing too that, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but they talk about when you give your significant other a hug, who's doing all the leaning, right? Is one person leaning in the most, or is it an equal lean, or is she leaning into you? And I think there's some posturing or some physical attributes that are important to pay attention to. So we're gonna go into that. I wanna go into relationships with money, especially as we get talked to the marriage. Like, as these dates get further, and for me, it's being open to, can I enjoy our first experience? If the answer is yes, and we both enjoy that mutually, great. Are you open to having another experience? Yes, cool. And then we can do that. And sometimes it just ends at the first one. I'm just like, hey, like, this was great. I'm cool to like hang out, grab coffee, and learn about you more, which is very exciting, and you can learn about me. But there's going to be kind of a threshold to that, because my time's very valuable, your time's very valuable. And if this isn't going anywhere, and I believe that from the beginning, why would I waste anyone's time, including my own? So going into that, but then as we get into deeper conversations, talking about values and alignment, if there's different alignment, right, and there's not a common vision, or if there's a yes woman or a yes man, or a no woman and a no man, right, then that's a problem. Because if they just say yes to everything that you do, then you're kind of guiding that. And are they really thinking for themselves, or are they just a follower? And for me, that's not value added. I don't need a follower, right? And then there's the no person that's always in resistance to everything that you're doing. That's a chore. Yeah. And then there are the people that I really love being with, and that's that key word, with. They're with you. Either way, they're going to be open, they're going to be honest, they're going to disagree with you, they'll agree with you. They're just going to be who they are, right? There's a great saying that people that are very good at being and are confident in who they are, they're not trying to prove anything, they're just expressing who they are. Again, they're not trying to prove anything, they're just expressing who they are. Further conversations, talking about, for me, health decisions is a big one. for certain decisions, this is the route that I'm going, that my family will go. Having the education, the information that I have, I'm open to teaching you on that if your beliefs currently aren't that. If you're not open to that at all, that's cool. There's no hard feelings. We can disagree, but this just isn't going further. And then there's conversations around our relationship, but also how money works. I think that's an important one to have up front. A lot of marriages end up dissolving because of money and finances. So let's just have that conversation up front. Here's for me. For me, I'm looking at a prenup, right? If for me, it doesn't make sense that I marry. The way that marriage is set up in the U.S. is absolutely insane to me. Is they marry me and they get 50% of my assets? That makes 0 sense whatsoever. That would be like hiring an employee and on day one, hey, guess what? You're 50% owner of the company. Why? Oh, because you're part of the company now, right? That makes 0 sense to me. And so with that being said, and same for her. What if she comes in with like 7 companies or she comes in with different assets? Why do I automatically get entitled to that? I don't like that whatsoever. So making sure we have those conversations up front, what that looks like. And then if we're both working, if I'm working, if she's just working, what does our bank accounts look like? For me, there's a savings, there's an investment, there's a travel or an adventure one, and then there's one for each of us where we get to spend it on what we want. There's no questions asked on it. It's each of ours. We're each doing the work in the relationship. May not be producing the income, but we're taking care of things outside that make life much easier. And I think if we're really equal in that sense, then you should have a part of that, right? But entitlement is not going to be a part of my marriage. It's not going to be a part of my relationships. If you're entitled to things, go get that elsewhere. For me, I want someone that works with me. It helps push versus one of us just having to pull, right? I want someone rowing the same direction as me. So those are all things that we're going to go into in this as well. Also, just some fun dating too, like how to make it fun, light, adventurous. We'll bring in different people with different insights is my goal. And just share on this topic and relationships as a whole. One of the big ones is communication. It is the big one is communication. A lot of times we shy away from certain conversations, talking to certain people, right? When I go out, I at least say hi to people if there's someone I find attractive. Even if they're in my vicinity, I'm going to say hello, acknowledge that there's another human being here. But I think just saying hello, letting people know your presence and being open to have conversations, you never know where they can lead. A lot of times we're so shy. I'm so shy. I'll speak for myself to have a conversation because I'm like, oh, what if they reject me, right? And we'll go into this. And for me, it's like, well, if you don't have the conversation, you'll automatically get rejected. So you're kind of at the spot. You might as well at least go say hi and just see where it goes from there. Hey, I'm Mateo. What's your name? Awesome. How long have you been coming to the gym? How long have you been coming to this coffee shop? What do you do? What do you enjoy? And just see where the conversation goes. Well, awesome. It was a pleasure meeting you today. Name. And then I hope we run into each other again. See where it goes from there. You never know. So I think all of those things are vitally important. A lot of times we get stuck with our headphones or our phones and we're not really being present, right? The big thing, another attractive thing is presence, right? Being where their feet are. That's again with watching their eyes. If they're looking around, looking at the phone, oh, sorry, I got to take this. But this is like, okay, like not present at all. Cool. It seems like you're in a different season than I am. Awesome. No hard feelings. And we go from there. So want to unravel a bunch of this. Leave a comment of topics that you would love to hear. That would help me a ton. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, that is going to make sure that you don't miss an episode in the series. And just super stoked for this to see where this goes and just excited to see what we learn. So I appreciate you all and just excited for this series on dating and relationships. We'll see where it goes.